Okay. Itamix Ganatani, good morning. It is actually, I should be saying Itamix Ischiko because I think it's around noontime on Saturday, November 30th, 2019, in the beginning of the second winter lunar cycle. When the rivers freeze over. And feels like morning for me because decided to really sleep in today. Figured I'd be spending my afternoon out here in the wilderness park where I am. Gonna do a little phenological tour, see what's going on out here. But other than this, I didn't really have much on the agenda today, and I figured it's a good time to rest up. Gonna be another busy week ahead, I'm sure. So, got out of bed quite late, had some coffee, responded to some communications online. I've got a couple of good questions. I'll probably address them in separate videos from this. I don't know. We'll see. Depends on how much is going on out here wildlife-wise that I can cue into. But, there's a little whitetail fawn. Spooked her out, and there's her family back in there. Alright, I should probably quiet down and go see what's going on out here. I'm the only human being here right now, as far as I know, unless somebody just hiked in. There's no other vehicles at the parking area, and it's a little bit treacherous driving down here. And now coming into the meadows, yeah, I'm seeing there's whitetails at least all over the place out here. So I'm gonna start trying to find out what it is they're grazing on today, and etc. This is a look at the coulee that I just walked out of. I'm down here on the floodplain in the forest now, but I'm where all the white-tailed deer were, at kind of the edge zone of the forest when I arrived. One fawn was even up here, I think bedded down next to a skunk brush sumac, and I came walking down. And of course there's not much to obscure me from their vision as I enter onto the floodplain, so I was noticed pretty quick. Fawn dashed off across the meadow here, met up with her mom and possibly a sibling. And there's other deer, other whitetails out that way that kind of went deeper into the forest. I've decided to follow the one family with the fawn, and right now, well, this tree is between me and the fawn. The mother, however, has gone off this way into some Saskatoon and chokecherry thickets. So the defense right away was to get, by all the deer here, was to get further into the tree line. And you know, they know I'm here, I know they're here. If I don't want to scare them, startle them into it, like, they don't want to exert a lot of energy and stuff too. So they're kind of half trusting that I'm not going to bother them, that I'm not a hunter, you know, because this is not supposed to be hunting zone. So they're kind of half trusting that and half not right now. And if I'm not patient, of course they're gonna run, and I'm not gonna see what they're up to. But at the same time, in order to get closer, I almost have to do this. Well, this is what I'm trying today, is this kind of stalking behavior. It's very predator-like, right? So we'll see how they respond. Right now, the fawn, I believe, is bedded down and watching my position. Yeah. Yeah, I see her there. I'll pull my other camera out, get a little bit of video of her. My camera that's down my leg. I really need to get a small Sony Handycam that I can zoom in with, small enough I can just carry it around in my belly. You know, this older, bigger one that I have, I've put down my pants and it's like riding around on my calf, just outside my boot. Oh, check it out. There's Mom and the other young one heading toward the fawn. I'm gonna get out the other camera. Hold on. Was going to get the second fawn. She senses the danger. I think she wants to move them behind this clump of trees out of my view. So, having assumed that they had changed positions on account of me, I decided to change positions too and come into a clump of trees further into the forest. This may have been the wrong move because as I started to go out from my cover, I noticed that Mom led one of the fawns out from their cover too. She was just going to move them further toward the river, but we kind of both emerged at the same time and they noticed me. So I acted like, yeah, no big deal, and continued to walk through a bit of open territory. Well, from that tree to this one, right out in their view. I think they've responded okay though, because yeah, they're still right here. They haven't run. They're still right here in front of me. Mama's watching me. The two fawns are feeding. She's a bit concerned, but she's not in flight mode yet. I seem to be doing all that I can to put her there, though. Let's zoom in here. She's starting to lead. Yeah, we're going to lose her. She's starting to lead them into the bush. There's still one fawn over here, kind of unaware. But Mama is concerned about the predator who's following them. So the question is, should I continue to stay kind of covert and hidden like this so that she's unsure what I am, other than a human doing something weird, right? Or should I expose myself and just kind of hang out in the open and hope that they stick around? Well, we've seen their behavior in relation to this, so let's try the other thing. Well, hard to get more exposed than this. That was my initial concealment position. That tree, and the fawn was just out here somewhere bedded down. And then as Mama started moving them, I went from that tree to this stand. Got my concealment back, although they all saw me make the move. And now they've headed into the bush. I think they're still close, but as I made my move from that stand to here, I've kind of lost some visual contact with them. I didn't see any running, but they may have hurried their movement into the chokecherry Saskatoon area. So I'm going to take my time so it doesn't look like I'm pursuing them per se. But I am thinking, what do I want to portray myself as to them at this point, right? Okay, if I'm saying, hey, I'm not a predator, look, I'm out in the open. Not that predators don't come out in the open, they do, you know. If I'm a wolf and I got all the time in the world, Mama's got to be in game mode right now. If I'm a human and I got all the time in the world and I'm hunting her, Mama's got to be in game mode right now. She's got to assume that in the natural order of things, I'm after her baby. One of her babies. So she's got to use her energy and their energy efficiently. Now, can I take her out of that frame of mind? I don't know if I can. I was thinking that perhaps there was a way I could try to herd up with them if I expose myself and acted like an animal wanting to join their herd, you know, not giving them eye contact, taking a low position when I approach, you know. You saw Mom even approach her fawn. But then I think, well, that's not what I'm really trying to do is learn something from them, so why don't I approach them as someone who's trying to learn from them? And of course the big question is that okay? Is that gonna shake her out of her fear of the predator? Like, I think she's already shuffled them off at this point, you know, to somewhere deeper in the coulee. Thinking, this crazy human out here talking to himself, kind of pursuing my babies. This is interesting. It looks like it goes in. I wonder how deep. Could be a den of some sort. Are those deer tracks around it? No, those are canine tracks. Hey. Looks to me. So it could be coyotes living right there. Right there. And, you know, there were deer beds beside me where I was first hidden, so to speak. All right. Let's go in the forest and see if we can find our family. getting to enjoy the beauty of the deer's environment, if nothing else. These floodplain forests are kind of tiered in terms of what, you know, it's not just that you enter the forest and then you're in trees. You kind of pass through a line of trees and then a line of trees, because there's all of these little flood paths, hey? So the trees take root in the flats above the flood channels, and are kind of fed by that moisture and well, I think germinated by it. You know, I don't think. I mean, that's what a floodplain forest is about. You need floods and you need high water levels. And that's where beavers come into play as well. Without the beavers, none of this exists. Alright, this is that weird structure over here. I know I showed it in a previous video, but it's obvious that something... I think there used to be a bunch of mining going on in here. Mining for, even just for river rock or whatever. And this levee of sorts, I don't know if you can see it, but it's almost, initially I thought it was almost rectangular. Now I don't think so. It just looks like kind of a pit with a rim around it. It's got to be an old rock quarry down in here that they reverted into wilderness park. That's how close we are between wilderness and whatever it is we're doing. It's the same to the animals. It's the same thing. I get the deer in my front yard. I get the birds in my trees. Spiders and whatnot. There's the deer blind out there. If it wasn't so, yeah, Mama has, I have no idea where she's gone, but if it wasn't so freezing, moving into the deer blind and then just waiting would probably be the best approach to getting an eye on some behavior. But it's freaking cold right now. Well, not that bad today. -10 Celsius. It's not too bad, not compared to yesterday's -19 and 20 and such, but still nothing I want to sit for long periods of time in. You know, the body outside of movement doesn't maintain heat very well, or generate it, or whatever we're doing with that energy. Yeah, it's probably generating, right? Using those sugars caught from the sunlight or converted from sunlight by these wonderful plants. I watched Chelsea and I stayed up last night watching Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to Stephen King's The Shining, and I did a book review on it sometime around this time last year, I believe. Weather was quite different. But they made a movie of it. We stayed up watching that movie, and I kind of feel like right now, following this deer, I must be a little bit like that Jack Nicholson character in The Maze, you know. Just forest loudly. Danny! Mama deer! Yep, us humans. I've come across Mama Deer, and believe it or not, she's just here by the blind. So I'm gonna pretend like she's obliging me. I'm gonna move into the blind. See what happens. There's a fawn out here. I'll get the better camera on them soon. And there's, I think, the other fawn just out here. This is a 360-degree blind. Yeah, let me get my other camera out and we'll see what we can see. They're all kind of moving away from me, moving away from the blind. So I don't know how well this is going to work, but at least I've got them back on track. Just out here, kind of along the river edge now. There's another deer outside of my view, except for the hind end. There's another one close here, just hidden in the trees. I didn't even see it before. See if I can give you a view. Oh, shoot, now my phone is ringing. Let's see who this is. Hello.
Hi, this is Ned. I'm calling from Shoppers Drug Mart. Calling for Ryan's prescription's ready here to be picked up.
Okay, my Symbicort's ready?
Yep.
All right, I'll come get it a little bit later this afternoon.
Yep, sounds good.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Yep.
What am I doing? Here I stand, growing cold in the deer blind, with the deer just over here and yet just out of sight. Ever aware of my presence. And from what I can hear, massive waterfowl events going on out on the river. What kind of a journalist would sit here and wait for the deer to show them exactly which grass seed they're eating today, when he could go down to the river and look at, obviously, the larger event of the afternoon? Decisions. leave the walls of the blind and look at the view that I get. Maybe there's a dual reason why they call those kind of places blinds. Hey there. I'm going to throw some binocular glass on her and see if I can get an answer to my question. I just been inching my way up toward this doe on my knees, watching her graze, every once in a while alarming her. Like right now she's a bit alarmed. I suspect she's eating leaves. She seems to be, like from what I can see with the binoculars, which I wish I could show you, she's rooting in the snow and she's coming up with material that she's chewing. So I think she's going back to grazing now, so I might get a chance to show you. Try to get closer for a good camera view, but yeah, I think she's eating the leaves. And again, like when I saw this behavior maybe a couple of weeks ago out here, it makes sense because we had that early freeze and all the leaves that fell were not deteriorated of their nutrients. Most of them were still green, just frozen, just flash frozen. Anyway, I'll try to give you a look. Nope. I spooked her. She's moved out of my line of sight. But I think I have the answer that I needed, that I wanted from the deer so far this morning, and more. So I think now it's time to transition to the river. Some of the whitetails are departing here as I approach the river, and it's definitely more than just the mama, as it's a stag passing through right there, and another one following, even larger one. Let's check him out. I'm gonna get the other camera on them. These guys are still in their rut. Yeah, pretty sure he's eating leaves. By binoculars again, I can get a better view for myself. But you're seeing as good as I can see with the camera right now. Alright, that stag just walked into the forest. Notice where he was grazing is again one of these areas that the floodwaters come, pulsing through. And so it's barren of trees, and it's dug out, But on the high rises where flood debris and all kinds of flotsam and fertilizer basically is cached, you have a lot of growth. Trees, older growth trees, smaller, newer communities. You have, I just see a doe back there that I've startled up in the brush. I was about to point out the chokecherry thickets. Look how these floods nurture the forest. But yeah, very grateful for the stag, especially this morning, for just standing right out in the open and showing what he was up to. I do think that they're eating some of the, they obviously eat the tips off of these brome. I pointed out in the past, but today I saw them more stripping the, where's some examples? I'm sure there'll be some. Where's the brome? Here's a bed, deer bed. Yeah, I wanted to show you examples of that. I was going to show that I had examples of just before encountering that buck of stalks of brome that obviously had their leaves plucked off. Wait a minute, I'll retrace my steps to where I started. It was through here I started kind of scooting on my knees because I noticed the deer, but somewhere in here I was seeing the stalks, the leafless stalks, like this, hey? Those stalks have been plucked of leaves. It's not that many. So maybe that the stag was really showing me, hey, don't pay attention to these things. Yeah, we might eat the leaves off some of these stalks, as we're working our way toward what we really want, which is that nutrient-rich leaves that fell early from this winter's or this late summer's flash freeze. Cool. Ah, yes. I should have known. I should have known the river event, is the freeze. That's what this lunar cycle's named after. And it's putting a lot of pressure on the waterfowl to come to the few places that still have good open areas. Not the few places, there's probably a good number of places at this point, but it looks like they're loving it here. From the alarm of those ducks, I've just got down on my knees. I'm going to try to make my way over to this kind of stand of trees that's close to the cut big edge. And do that without being standing out like a human silhouette, Keep low. A little bit obscured. Don't know if you can see, but I suspect you would be able to, because I can see with my naked eye even that there's a family of swans in amongst the geese in this far pool. They're very late, and they may be the ones who were here at the wilderness park during one of Chelsea and I's recent visits a few weeks back. I don't quite know why they're staying. I'm just trying to sit a little bit still for now and see what happens with the waterfowl. They respond to all kinds of different stimulus, myself included, of course, but there's coyotes, there's eagles, several airborne predators actually, probably still hunting them, but definitely eagles and coyotes. And if I sit here long enough, a coyote would no doubt pass by. You know, notice how they cling to the, where we could see if I can get in there without the tree messing it up. Notice how if they're going to choose a place to sit, you know, they'll sit on this shoreline along the edge of the water in a very exposed area, but right along the shoreline. At nighttime, that kind of shoreline, shore hugging, makes them pretty much invisible. During the daytime, it's very strategic too, because they're hanging out on the shores, on the very exposed shores, you know, at the edge of the ice bars. So anybody that's got to come and get them is either going to have to come from the sky, which they can see, and the flock behavior helps them with that, or it's got a coyote would have to trot out here across the ice, which they do attempt to do, but as you can imagine, the birds depart pretty quick. There's constant movement through the air along the river of ducks and geese moving from one site to another up and downstream. There's flocks moving higher up, crossing the coulee, heading to stubble fields, perhaps some still in migration and such. A few ducks from upstream are starting to slip down this way into my hollow, but there have been several kind of flocks that have come in and decided, nah, we're not landing here. Look at that big monkey hidden in the tree. That's one of those killer monkeys. Yeah, they're right. Except in this case, like a broken one that's not even out here really hunting. I'm just trying to gain knowledge. I think, well, that's interesting. There's some magpie feeding down this way. Hold on, I'm going to turn a lens toward them. Yeah, always trust the magpies to lead you on to some phenological events you are unaware of, because they're aware of everything, and these guys are obviously cued in to some kind of insect event going on at the edge zone of these shallow waters. In amongst the ice and kind of the riverbank area, you know. But yeah, they're not just there for a sip or a dip. They are picking insects off the ice. what exactly, I don't know. But I've seen these kind of cold weather hatchings sometime of certain insects. But probably it's something like that. I can't get over there, so I will not know. By the way, while I was watching them, a group of mallards did actually land here in my water. They landed and then they realized I'm here. So they're kind of staying obscured from me behind this tree that is my blind. It's their blind too, and they don't exactly want to get out of the water right now. They just got into, but they may. We'll see. Way too awesome. I can't even show you guys from here, but with this camera, I don't think. But there's a mature bald eagle that just flew in, landed up here to look out over the river. Gave some eagle calls, which are different than the calls that you hear in the movies with eagles, by the way. Those are hawk calls that you generally hear. I'm hoping she'll start talking again and that we might be able to see a little bit of eagle action out here on the river. Right now, you just get a very fuzzy version of her. I had dared avert my gaze from the eagle briefly to take in some of what was going on with the waterfowl. And when I looked back, the eagle was gone. In the interim, kingfisher had flown by, and this very interesting little bird here had come to roost. See if I can show you him. I know I'm getting an indicator here that the camera is getting too cold, so I might lose you with this camera that I can close in on wildlife with. Oh, yeah, I'm losing my screen. But this is a northern shrike, if you can still see it. And this is a hunter. Okay. Northern shrike hunts large insects and small birds. Grabs them, impales them on broken branches or thorns, and eats them. So I don't run into the northern shrike too often. A couple of times at Spopikimi. Cool to see that it's here in my first winter at the wilderness park. Got tired of crouching by my trees here, or I should say squatting, because that's really what it is, you know. Like the skills that you need, some of the core skills you need as a human being, I think, are endurance running, the ability to carry heavy loads some distance, usually hiking uphill, and squatting, just natural squat, you know, butt off the ground, heels, you know, touching the ground, regular squatting. It's a rare skill these days, I think. Now, a younger eagle has appeared on that same roosting tree, and the more mature one did a flyby on me. Lots of stuff happening in terms of the waterfowl movement. I'm just gonna stay put and kind of wait and see if either the shrike or the eagles make any kind of moves or whatever happens. You know, there's a lot going on here. It's pretty crazy. I even just noticed as I was filming the shrike a minute ago, just back here behind me, there is a deer bedded down, a doe. He's just kind of watching me. Well, it's a bummer. The Handycam battery has played out. It's gotten too cold. I've got it in my shirt against my belly, but usually when it gets to that state, it's no good. It's out of commission. This is an old camera. I got to get myself a newer one, a smaller one, one that I can definitely keep in my pocket more readily. That's going to stay warm, and it's probably the technology in terms of its cold tolerance has changed anyway. Definitely has in this smaller Sony camera, so same company. All the same, I'm enjoying it out here in the midst of all this. I've got a young bald eagle sitting over here in a tree. I've got a northern shrike over here in another tree. I've got a mature eagle who wants to come in and sit here but is a little bit wary of me. There's a family of geese here. The magpies have been doing their thing on the ice. Kingfishers have passed by, or one of them has. Lots of goldeneye ducks, mallards, and others coming and going. A family of deer bedded down behind me, kind of watching the scene as well. And, you know, one of the questions that I received that I thought I might do a separate video on, but probably can just be easily addressed right here, right now, was what motivates you, Ryan? What motivates you? Well, this is a big one, hey? Just like right here. Being out here in the real world with the sun and the animals and the plants, and having these like brief moments where I'm here standing just out exposed on the bank. Everybody knows I'm here. I know they're all here, but I approached it with patience enough that they're tolerant of me, and I can just be a human being for a moment, hey? Maybe I'm a hunter, maybe I'm a learner, maybe I'm both. Maybe I'm crazy and they're just allowing me to be crazy in their world, and that's okay too. It's still, these moments are something that really motivate me. There's other things, you know, but maybe that'll be addressed in other videos. This is a big one. This is a big part of what I live for.